So 1 minute, right?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 16th meeting of the Hyde Park Planning Board. Please take note of the exits around the room. In case of mishap, and now join me as we pledge our fealty to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The first item on the agenda, and we have no public hearings tonight, just for the record, is Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. This is the first time the board is seeing the application, but basically it's for refacing of the existing building that's within what people here mostly call Stop and Shop Plaza now, instead of Ames, but formerly known as Hyde Park Mall. And there will also be an addition of a canopy to allow drive-through. Good evening. Could you state your name in the microphone for the record?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Roger Keating. I'm from the Chase & Companies, here tonight on behalf of the Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union to go over the proposed improvements at the site. With me is Jay from Norrie Architects as well. He'll go over a little bit of what's proposed for the building. And with us also tonight are with us are also representatives from the Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union as well, and Turner Construction, their construction management company. In general, the plan is relatively straightforward. What they're looking to do is their existing branch is in the Stop and Shop Plaza. They currently have a ATM lane that's along the back side of their branch, and they do not offer any drive-up services. So they're looking to expand, add a canopy addition to the building along the west side of the property, which would include 2 drive-up tellers with a bypass lane for people that would use the ATM. There'll be some minor improvements associated with that, with creating additional lanes so that they can get the traffic around the building, and then the curb islands and such for the exit from the drive-through area would need to be modified. There's 3 parking spaces that are along that side of the building. Those would be removed as part of the project, and the drive-through canopy would go basically right where those spaces are today. So I'll turn it over to Jay. He can go over a little bit of the building, and if you need the pointer, I have the pointer.
Okay. Thank you. It's Jay Deasing, Norrie Architects, and as Roger mentioned, we're proposing a drive-up structure on the west side of the existing building at the Hudson Valley Credit Union. As part of that, we're also going to be renovating the facade of the building, and it's going to be done to match the architectural style of the rest of the plaza. So we are proposing to use all of the identical materials that are on the plaza, the same stone veneer, the same clapboard siding, the same stucco color for some of the cornice work that's on the building. We're also adding, as you can see on the elevation, we're adding a gable peak on the front of the building to help tie that in with the style of the rest of the plaza. And then the drive-up structure will also be a gabled roof structure. There will be a stone base from ground level, basically up to the underside of the windows, and then that stone will also flank the entrance on each side to help accentuate the entrance. If you remember the existing building, it's got some green paneling in between the windows. They will be painted to match the stucco cornice that's at the top of the building, and then the clapboard siding would be in between basically the rest of the facade. Basically, that's kind of the overview of what we're proposing tonight, so we look forward to moving ahead and any questions you might have.
Thank you. Just first for some housekeeping, I apologize to be so picayune as having to tell you it's a type 1 action, but it's next to a historic site, and I anticipate Superintendent Olson will probably have some comments no matter what, because she always does when it comes to this site, even though this is an improvement visually. Second, because the owner of the site, Mr. Azarian, could, under our special use permit portion of the code, add more buildings to the site. When we redid it for Stop and Shop, nothing changed. There was no expansion. There was actually a slight reduction. So we need, but not much. I shouldn't say there was a slight reduction. There was a slight expansion. but we need to make sure that we have a base established, so from now on, if he wants to come back and say, add any more businesses toward the front of the building, we'll know what that is to the maximum. So I know it's a really small portion, but that requires a special use permit. So I seem to be the one to have caught those, and I apologize. I'm just going to get my comments out of the way real quickly. We still need a zoning table on a title page with signature blocks that wasn't submitted. I'm not sure how we're incorporating this into the overall site plan, because you just show a portion of it, and it's a site plan amendment, so you probably need to talk to Ms. Moss about, I think that Ms. Polidoro has some ideas about that. We'll hear from her in a moment. We'll also need a photometric plan. There are a couple of financial institutions seem to want to overlight, no offense, and this particular area, we want to make sure we try to reduce light trespass, light pollution. That's all. I noticed that there's going to be a canopy in the, or I think there's going to be a canopy in the rear where the ATM is now. It appears that, from what I could see, that might have flush-mounted lights, but I just want to make sure that we don't have lights shooting up into the air. There's a credit union right across here, just down the way, that if you go by at night, you'll see 4 big, huge lights that are shining up. That are in violation right now. So I want to make sure we control that, specifically because it's next door to an historic site. The knee wall in the rear, just specify the materials. And as I mentioned way back in a meeting with Mr. Deasing, repair of the stone walls and removal of the brush and debris behind them are likely to be conditions of an approval, because this is an overall site plan, and I don't want the board to approve a site that has damaged walls. We've been in contact with Mr. Azarian about this, and nothing seems to be done. Wearing another hat, I even sent a copy of the insurance, the motorist insurance, in both cases for the damage to him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he did with them, because he could have filed a claim for them. Mr. Baxter's here tonight because I did the same thing for a site he has when there was damage. It has occurred 8 months after those accidents, and he already got his money back for the claim to repair it. So just a note into there, because this is an overall site plan. I hate to peg you with it, but that's the way it is.
Okay.
Let me turn it over to the consultants. Mr. Sotero, any comments?
Yeah, we have a few. I believe that you had already covered several, which was the approval blocks, the zoning table. We're going to issue a memo. It's just a short one. It's just some housekeeping items in terms of maybe some signage, some pavement markings. We are going to ask for a lighting plan, a photometric plan for underneath the canopy. Is there going to be any other lights? There's no new lights around the parking lot. I believe that those were all put in when they did the overall plaza, but no new building-mounted lights other than just the canopy, right?
No, we were really not proposing any other lighting, no.
Okay. So, I mean, we don't really have anything, major. Again, we just wanted to wait until we had the planning board meeting, incorporate any other comments in here, and then we'll get this out probably tomorrow or the day after, but it's, minor stuff.
Okay.
Thank you, Pete. Ms. Polidoro?
So the first comment is about scale.
Okay.
I saw that you provided us with the calculations, and I know this concept is unique to Hyde Park, but we need the base scale, what the scale of the property was when it became non-conforming, because that's what all of the additions are based on.
Okay.
So I think what you provided us was the scale as it exists now, but we need that original number as well, so we know how much of an increase. The increases are cumulative. So there's a starting point in time,
Oh, okay,
and you can only go up to 50% total.
okay. So, yeah, we would have
You don't need to think about it right now. I mean,
it's pretty small, the calculation that I've come
Oh,
up
yeah,
with.
no,
And I
it-
guess I would just have to understand where that starting point was. Maybe someone at the town could help me identify where that started.
I need help with that, because the
Well, now
the code passed in 2005.
That's not good.
That's not a good.
No, if the code was passed in 2005, we didn't have this provision in the prior codes, so wouldn't the base be as of 2005?
and it should be indicated on the Stop and Shop plan set.
It will be, okay.
We did have a copy of the scale calculations that they had, and we just recreated the table in the
Right.
letter with the net increase. So I can follow
It's
back up.
probably just a matter of starting with their original numbers
Okay,
instead of their end numbers.
I understand. Thank you.
That's all. So we can just say the base was such and such,
Okay.
but we'll talk about it.
No, but I should add, I understand now, when we did Stop and Shop, the building shrank, but the use expanded because of the gasoline facility, the fueling facility next door. So they'll have back in their base amount what it was before all that changed. I think, like I said, I thought it almost netted out because the building shrank some, it got moved back toward the west.
It may have. It's just a housekeeping detail, and
Right.
this is such a small increase, it's not going to put it over that 50%
Oh, no.
most likely, but we just need to have it.
Understood.
Is that something where you need to talk with Stop and Shop about? Because I understand Wagner is no longer in business, the engineering consultant.
It is not in business. You're right. Mr. Brewer works elsewhere now.
It should be on the plan set that's approved.
Okay,
Right.
we do have that scales table from the plan set.
Yeah, we'll work it out.
Okay,
And then the second issue is that normally when we have a site plan, we usually get a sheet that shows the entire existing site plan. So I know you gave us the aerial photo, but you didn't give us the existing site plan for Stop and Shop. And we understand it may be an issue because Wagner is out of business. So instead of that, if the planning board is comfortable with it, we could have them just identify the existence of the other site plan in a notation with language to the effect that everything that's not changed is still
In
applicable.
effect.
That's fine.
Yeah, I had made an attempt this evening, just with the board that you see there, which took the aerial and just the general overall boundary there, and then just did a blow-up, so I could provide something like that along with some notes maybe, that would be appropriate.
Right, I think notes would work. In general, when we look at a site plan, it opens up the whole site, and in this case, the board has some concerns about the stone walls, which is why if we had the whole site plan, we could point to the stone walls and say those have to be fixed. So if we work on an appropriate notation, that should be fine.
Okay.
And I did discuss this with Ms. Moss, and she's okay with this, too. We're happy you're doing this. It's just, to explain for those who may not understand, the town used to have really sloppy records. We don't allow that anymore because we have this provision in our code where you can increase off a base. It's a special use permit, but we have to have good records or you might see it go way out of control. So this is all for Ms. Moss for the future. But I think we can work this out pretty easily.
okay.
Ms. Kane, do you want to start?
I think we've covered a lot. My biggest concern is materials and colors, since you're right up against the historic site. And I'm trying to understand the panel color and the clapboard siding and how those things work together. Do you have?
The panel
Maybe
color,
I need
so.
to walk over and look. I
Yeah, and I
can't
can
see it very well
also
from here.
just pass out for reference. I'm sure everybody's fairly familiar with, this is the existing building.
Right.
When I reference those green panels, that just kind of gives you an idea of where I was
Okay.
talking about. Just to touch on this again, the stone at the base of the building and then flank up the two sides of the entrance.
Okay.
These shaded areas are the green panels on the building now, so they're gonna be painted a light tan color to match this cornice.
Okay.
You can see that here. The clapboard siding is in the in-between panels, it's on the columns of the drive-up structure, and then in the gable, new gable structure.
Oops. Do we have the walk-around mic? Do we have the walk-around mic? Sorry. Our director down below is beeping me.
Oh, man.
Oh, here.
We'll turn it on for you.
Yeah, I'll take it.
While we're doing this, I just want to add that when you do a visual impact analysis, typically as mitigation, what's proposed would be earth tones, so it would blend into the atmosphere, so to speak, the landscape. And the last time that we had this before us with Stop and Shop, Superintendent Olson of the National Park Service specifically wanted to have these kinds of colors, so it
Okay.
wouldn't impact the view from historic sites.
Good to know, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's working.
Okay, thank you. So, and all the colors that I did discuss will match the rest of the plaza, and even the roof shingles, the architectural roof shingles will be on the new gables, and they'll match the plaza and are all in a kind of an earth tone scheme.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And the back is similar?
Back's very similar, yes. We're not gonna have the tall gable on the back side, but it's all the same materials otherwise on the rest of the building.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
First of all, I want to say, visually, it's going to be a big improvement.
Thank you.
I'm very, very happy you're doing it. I'm happy you're expanding. Okay? I think it's gonna look a lot better. It's gonna tie in with the existing thing, and I think you've done a good job. My only concern is gonna be picked up with the photometric thing, make sure that it's safe, but at a minimum amount of lighting. But we want it to be safe. I know there's regulations that you guys have to, but that's my only concern. I think it's a great thing for the town.
Thank you, and I agree. Ms. Dexter?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that improve to match the rest of the site. I'm very excited. I like the colors. Question about the front entryway porch there. Is that changing?
No, that's the existing structure that's there with the glass roof, and that will remain.
Yep, and the colors will all stay the same on that? You have that little thin green band on it?
Yes.
Okay. My only thing is at the very peak of your added, what do you call that? Facade?
Facade, yeah.
To match the rest of the plaza, I'd like to see a quatrefoil.
Okay.
Because that's, if you look at the other ones, they started out square, but we asked them to put that into, it's an element out of the Vanderbilt estate.
So you're talking the window?
Yes,
Okay,
In the peak.
in the peak? Okay.
yes. When you look at the existing site, you'll see what I mean. They call it a quatrefoil.
Okay, very well, look at that,
Thank you.
no problem.
Mr. Oliver?
Again, I think the improvements are going to be great. I really like the gable ends. I think it's going to modernize the building a lot, and the colors are going to match everything. Two minor details. I think the snow storage needs to be marked on the site plan, especially with the expansion of the back driving lane, what you plan to do back there. And my other concern is the pedestrian ramp and the drop curb.
Okay.
Is there also going to be a drop curb or a ramp in the front? So I didn't see it on the plan detail.
I think there's one there now, isn't there?
Yeah, I didn't know if they were going to change that.
So currently, there is a drop curb over here. We will just be making a modification to it. There'll be one going back in. And then as you cross this driveway as it exists today, there is a section that's level with the ground, so it's curved on both ends. So we're going to basically be matching what's there today with the pedestrian ramp, with the walkthrough and the existing.
But the one in the front will remain?
It will.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Those are good questions, Chris. Ms. DiNapoli?
Hi. Landscaping, did I hear any discussion about changing, improving, expanding landscaping, or?
Something over here, guys.
Adding a tree.
Make sure you use the microphone closer.
I will try to do that.
Thank you, thank you.
Last time I touched this thing, I thought I broke it.
Now you have to try harder.
Okay. There's a little bit of landscaping that's currently on the site right now.
Right.
We are adding another street tree to the drive-through portion of the site. So we'll have a new street tree over there. There are some existing trees that we're going to protect, and they'll stay as part of the existing site plan. So the trees that were done previously, those will all still remain. However, we are going to end up moving the one street tree that's in front of the branch that's on the left-hand side as part of that revision to that drop curb and island. We're going to put the tree back. We're just going to have to shift it over. So, but in essence, the area that's around the rear of the property is primarily lawn with a few street trees, and we're going to keep it maintained that way, and with the addition of additional street tree along the side there.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
I have a question about the signage. Are you taking the existing sign and just moving it up, or is it a new sign?
I believe we're just planning on relocating that sign. to
That
the same
sign,
gable.
okay. Thank you.
Michael, I had some quick.
Please.
I was just looking at Liz's draft memo, and she brought up a point that maybe we should just talk about quick. So where we're going to have the drive-through now, we're going to have 2 lanes. We're basically going to have 3 lanes there, like exiting right in, the front there. So I guess the concern is again, I'm sure there's going to be, gaps in traffic. It's not going to be like there's cars going to be going through there constantly. But, she brought up the concern, do we have to worry about limiting like left turns or right turns coming out of any of those, the exit lanes for, the drive-through, just so there's not people running into each other if it, during, busy times, or, I know that's gonna add a lot of signage, but I guess it's a comment that we're gonna make, and it's just something we gotta think about, I guess.
I mean, from Pete, from the credit union, and having done quite a few of these branches with them, and also with their operations, this will function similar to a lot of their other facilities that have actually a lot more drive lanes. They don't really experience that problem that you're talking about. We will have a controlled stop there, so that will be requiring folks to make sure that there's a stop bar and signage for stopping there. But we haven't restricted movements typically out of there. For instance, say somebody comes to the drive-through teller and they decided to bring all their quarters that day to put it in the tube system. Well, that's not going to really work. They need to come into the branch. So we want to have the ability for that member to be able to come out, find a parking spot, and do the correct transaction inside the branch. So I don't know if we would want to force that right turn movement to have them loop back around and into the site. We want to be able to have that flexibility for them to be able to come and do the right transaction in the branch. But if there's some
I'm not
concerns,
sure.
we can most certainly work with your
Like, for
office.
instance, if you have the westernmost drive-through lane, and that person exits, and let's say they want to get back out to Kessler, if they make that right-hand turn, I don't know if that's too sharp there, and then they wouldn't be able to get back out onto the access drive without, going into the oncoming, lane, I don't know, without putting a turning template on it.
Well, if you can see how we have the plan developed right now, is that island is there currently.
Right.
So folks coming out of that are currently making that movement. We're really kind of trying to keep.
Oh,
this-
that's a good point,
we're-
yeah.
We're trying to keep this curb edge intact as much as possible. So we're really not proposing any changes to this side, Pete. So unless the credit union can tell me that they have issues with those, that they haven't brought that to my attention through the design process with them, that folks were having this trouble with the movement, we're not really changing that circulation there.
All right, well, we'll look at it, and we'll talk about it. I don't think
Absolutely.
it's, a major thing, it's just something that I saw here, and I said, well, I might as well bring it up, and we'll discuss it quick, so. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Just one last question from me. On the existing site, there's a canopy over the door. It's not shown on the elevation. In addition, there are lights up at the top that don't seem to be shown on the elevations. If they're going to remain or change or stay the same, you should include them because, as you know, Mr. Deasing, Ms. Moss is a strict constructionist.
I've heard that.
And I don't want you coming back for another amendment because there are things that were not on the elevation. She's gotten very picky lately, or is just very picky. So if those are going to remain, just show them.
Sure, we'll look at that with the rest of the photometric.
Okay, thank you. And otherwise, if you need a copy of comments, I can send them to you. But I think I saw you taking notes. It's all pretty easy. This is a great improvement. The town's happy with it. I don't see any issues coming forth. So we're prepared to type the action and refer it to declare lead agency and refer this to some involved and interested agencies this evening. Who has this file?
I do.
Thank you.
Resolution typing action and declaring lead agency, Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union drive-through and facade improvements, March 16, 2016. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved
I'll just put it
that
in
the
file.
planning board hereby, 1, classifies the project as a type 1 action under seeker, 2, declares its intent to serve as lead agency in a coordinated review of the project, 3, directs its secretary to circulate notice of its intent to serve as lead agency to all involved and interested agencies, and 4, directs its secretary to refer the application to Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development pursuant to Section 239M of the General Municipal Law.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. And would you like us to set the public hearing for a month from now or 2 weeks from now, and to give them time to make their response? I don't think we're going to hear a lot of public comment, to be honest with you.
If we set it for a month from now, we would potentially have any comments back about your circulation, and then there would be possibility of an approval at
Yeah.
that meeting.
That's probably better than.
So I think we do that.
It'll save you money. I mean, it won't save you money, it'll save them money to come forward. So that would be for our April 20th meeting. May I get a motion to set the public hearing for April 20th?
So move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you guys in a month and look forward to seeing the improvements this spring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you go on to the next application, just want to make an announcement to the public on this application here. We've been unable to zoom in on the flip charts, but the applicant and I have been working together on this, and we're going to try something different. I'm going to see if I can slip in a couple of pictures
Digital.
in the YouTube rebroadcast. I'm not promising, I've never done this before, but we're going to give it a shot.
You're improving
If
every time.
anybody can
is
do it,
correct?
Herb, it's you.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
That would really be cool, and I think about it, because when you're editing, you can just stick them in, right?
I'm going to try.
That's great, okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Deasing. Good to see you again, Mr. Keating. Thank you. Sorry. The next item on the agenda is Hyde Park Assisted Living. This is formerly the Hoe Bowl to everybody that we see all the improvements coming forth on. We're here first to discuss the signage. Welcome back, Mr. Herslinger.
Thank you.
I don't think there's much to discuss. Everyone had a chance to look at the sign?
Yeah.
Please, come on up.
That'll make the application in jeopardy.
Planning Board welcomes back Mr. Robert Baxter, the owner of the site. He's doing the construction work. Mr. Baxter is here to discuss colors because we approved the color as being pistachio green. And there's some changes. But look, first, to go to the signage, anybody have any questions about the sign?
Well, I thought the question was, lighting was a question, because it didn't shine.
I was going to ask that, but it's not going to be lit?
At this time, we're not going to light it.
What would be the preference of the board?
It doesn't matter to us. You're going to keep calling it just Hyde Park Assisted Living Facility, or you're not going to call it like the Grange, the Meadows, the...
Baxter's home or anything?
The kids are trying to put me in there already.
Well, no, these sorts of places usually have names that make them sound inviting and alluring. So,
Hopefully Hyde Park, the name
Right,
Hyde Park is alluring.
there you go.
Very good, that was good, Bob. You know, I've been doing this for a while.
Unanimous approval.
So, there being no issues, we have a resolution prepared tonight for this, so the sign can go up. Yes.
Is this sign that's being done now, is this the permanent sign?
Yes.
Or is this the
Yes.
temporary sign?
Permanent sign,
And so it's going to be in black and white?
yes.
The colors on the building, like if you've gone by, if you notice, the windows themselves are, we order them rather than a white window, we ordered a black window. It's got black grids in it. The trims are going to be black. The shingles are going to be a black gray. The siding is going to be black, so it should kind of correspond with what is happening. Some of this color is going to go on there. Some of the, some of the siding, the trims and the names and stuff will be in the black that matches the black on the, so there's some thought to it.
I assumed there was thought.
So, as to color, I had a discussion with Ms. Moss this afternoon. Currently, we have Speedway, formerly Hess, before us, and because they've changed their trim from green to red, dark red, as well as a few other site plan elements, Ms. Moss is requiring a site plan amendment. In this case, Ms. Moss told me that she would normally just consider it to be a minor change, because the planning board made such a fuss of not having beige colors, wanting pistachio, that she thinks it needs to be a site plan amendment unless we somehow say that we think it's a minor change as well, to change the color.
So what I'm going to suggest is that the applicant already knows that they're going to come back in at the end of this process for a site plan amendment for the as-built, because I understand there've been a few field changes. Am I?
Have there?
Not that I'm sure of, not that I
From
know of,
speaking
but
with Ms. Moss.
Ms. Moss
Oh.
may have some suggestions for me.
She expects them to come in at the end with an as-built for the planning board to approve it as a site plan amendment at the end of the process, so
Okay.
we're not holding anything up. And so if the planning board is in agreement with the color choices tonight, we could put off that site plan amendment until the end, so we don't have to do it twice, and just wrap that into the end one.
Okay, that's fine.
But you would, you would have to come back at the end.
Okay.
And do
I have no problem coming
Oh,
up to
thank
the
you.
board and,
We'll save you a chair.
thank you. And the biggest, I think the change that went on, I mean, I've tried to push some changes on to a limited budget up there and try to, it was originally going to be a painted concrete block building. I'm trying to, this has been added up here, and if you look at this is the newest whiz-bang type of siding that it looks like a hardy board, but more durable.
I thought it was a hardy
and
board.
So does the rest of the world, yes.
Wow.
This, the company came up and we're trying the product out in Hyde Park. This, I'll pass this around, bring it up, and though it's,
What is it actually made out of?
Fiberboard?
No, it's a plastic.
it's a plastic.
Oh, instead of
Like
cement.
recycled plastic?
Yes, much more durable, it'll last longer, it doesn't wick moisture like a
Hardy board does,
will
yeah.
degrade.
And what about like with fire? Is it as,
No, it's a completely
even though
fireproof
it's,
product, sure.
even though it's
yes,
plastic?
yes.
Yeah. Cool.
It's a lot lighter weight than hardy board is, too.
And it'll take an impact where a hardy board can crack or break, because it's just a pressed cement board.
Oh, wow.
But it's
When
a
did
nice,
this
nice
come out?
product. What's that?
When did this come out?
It's probably out now. I mean, they're bringing it up here. We had their applicators. I used the regular AZAC trims and stuff around it. If you stop by and take a look at it on the building that's on there, it gives you a nice building. Plus, the hardy, it's a little bit thicker than the hardy board, so it gives you a little bit more siding reveal. Like if you take a good historic renovation and stuff, you can get that, you'll see that, whereas the vinyl siding is rounded,
Yeah.
this is a sharper edge, and it looks like a more,
Wow.
really nicer product. And then the upper, well, you don't need, I guess if we're gonna come back, we'll.
No, show us the colors now anyway.
We want to see.
The planning board has to nod
I
in
know,
approval
Michael.
to the colors now.
Yeah, we have to nod our approval tonight.
Well, okay, as I said, the windows are a black, the trims on it, this will be a gray-black, black shingle with gray speckles in it, and then this is called a Crownsville gray that's on here, but it's actually a greenish
Gray.
tint that's in there, but it's a very earth tone color, so very subtle colors and stuff. Like certain colors that were specified before, I just felt like hunter green. Hunter green is a color that's been around the world for 15, 20 years. I'm tired of hunter green. I mean, it's just, I just think in the long run.
Those are the shingles, by the way, atop a pistachio-walled building.
So I just think in the long run, I think we'll be happier to see colors like this.
Well, I'm going to just venture out that I personally think this is going to look more tailored now, the use of the black against the taupe and the greeny beige. I think it's going to look really slick, yeah, smarter. So,
Pistachio is great for ice cream.
Well, that's when I started looking at this, I said, this board up here, let those colors go through, and I said, and push for it, I said, I think I need to go ahead and take a look, and, I've been trying to push to get something else that just is going to look a little bit, once again, these people that are going to be living up there, for the most part, this is their last hurrah, and, well, it's morbid, but unfortunately,
that's why they usually call them resting pines or the whatever. Wherever you're going, it's supposed to be happy,
you
so.
want these people to come in there, you want their families to come up and look at it, and you just, you want it to feel like there's a little quality, a little thought that went into this.
A little class.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I appreciate it, and
Thank you.
I also, just for the record, want to add that Mr. Westermeyer was extremely pleased with your work.
Thank you.
He actually said that he didn't think there was any other company that could have done what you were doing with
Thank
the building, because the retrofit is not easy. He was shocked.
Yeah.
And he doesn't give compliments very easily.
Well, he's been in and he's looked around, and if you look at it, and that's why I would like to invite the board at your convenience, stop by, take a look, you know, and, you know, there's a lot that goes in a lot of these type of homes, you know, this is done, it's sprinklered all the way through, it's got some quality, some thought, and trying to make it as upbeat as you possibly can for what sometimes happens on.
Well, part of what happened last time was the board was eager to move forward
Yeah.
because any improvement would have been better than that rotting Hoe Bowl look.
Yeah.
So it's already transforming itself. Every time I drive by, I get excited. So
When do you think they'll be able?
Well, at this point, I think it was 74 beds were going to go in there, and I think he's had inquiries and people talking, signed up for about 40 of the
Wow.
70.
You think
So,
by May
Yeah,
they'll be ready? Or
that's,
June?
well, we've made a few switches. Once again, we were started off with septic. We were going to go to sewer, and it looks like at this point, we're back into the septic area. If indeed we can try to get this, we're shooting, I mean, they're taped, it's probably half sheet rocked on the inside, being taped out now. So, you know, windows are in, the new roof is all on, they've got trims on that. So, you know, it's just, we've got to go ahead and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get the soil loosed for a foot down so they can come in and test it. So as we're making it all loose, we'll be giving Peter a call, say, Pete. Well, the soil has to be scarified a foot deep so they can come and stick a stick in it so that moisture or water will be absorbed into it for the wastewater regs and so forth supposedly. And so we're trying to get all that done and some grass planted. I'm getting quotes on. No, no, this is out because there was blacktop on parts of it before.
Right.
everyone has to remember that they removed a tremendous
Ton of
amount of
asphalt.
asphalt to add more green to the space. So,
So we're getting quotes now on landscaping and that type of thing, so hopefully sooner rather than later.
it looks to me like you're not going to be open till at least August.
No.
Yeah. There's still a lot of work. I mean, you
Yeah,
you
there's a
added,
lot of work.
if I understand correctly from Mr. Westermeyer, you added some,
Bathrooms?
yeah.
There's no more flow or anything like that. What
No,
we're
no, it's
doing
just you
is-
made them more accessible to the rooms.
What we're trying to do is put those in there because the way it is now, he has applied for state beds. He's been given X amount of state beds, I believe it's 40. He's also applied for another 50, and if that is given to him, which has not been handed out, then we would be back to the board to contemplate a large addition off this, which would, maybe we'd put the state part in one and
Private and another?
private in another, so it was kind of feeds back and forth. He can go ahead and the state, I believe the numbers are maybe up $1,500 they would pay for a state. If you have someone else that comes in, wants a private room, and it does happen to have a bathroom in it, you can demand more rent on that. So that's, so he's looking at, some people want to come up and they want their own facilities in the room, and they won't take it unless there's their own facilities. So what he's done the underground plumbing, and if somebody comes along and wants it, the underground is there and.
Oh, the rough out's already there, okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
That's a great idea.
So I figured it'd be a lot cheaper than having people up there coughing with jackhammers going on and concrete in the air, trying to get it done later. We'll get it prepared now, and if it happens, good.
Then how would you incorporate it into the existing space? And if you have the ground, you have the plumbing,
Yeah,
and then if someone comes in
You mean
You
into
know,
these
in
closets,
5
into
years-
these closets that we're building now, that
Is
become
that what it-
closets that could become a toilet at some point?
I mean, let's say in 5 years, Jeff comes in and says,
Right.
I want a room, but I want my
Wow.
own private facilities.
Well, as I said, it's all roughed into the floor, and it'll be into this closet, and the closet becomes a
The bath.
bathroom later
And
on.
then what happens to the closet?
Well, all of the rooms have armoires and that
I was
type of
just
thing.
trying to
Yeah,
picture
no.
how you did that.
So the addition may have been what Ms. Moss was referring to when she said they might be back before the board.
Okay.
Oh.
But
I didn't know that I did anything wrong yet.
No, no, no.
Assuming I will, but.
Is there going to be a sign on the building itself, or is this the only sign
This is the only sign
That's-
at this point.
at this point?
When we approved
And-
the site plan before you were here, there
Yeah,
was no,
'cause this was well before me.
yeah, otherwise we would have asked for a location on the building where a sign could be shown.
And on the sign, there's a phone number?
Yes, and it's going to be a separate panel to change that if the phone number changes. So it's going to be,
I guess my question is, how many people go whizzing by and go, ooh, an assisted living, quick, write down their phone number? That really doesn't happen. And how many times do you have
They've
to
got a
go?
temporary sign up there
Up
now,
there
and,
now, yep.
that's where they've got the number. Is running an ad in the paper.
Right.
But we've had people pull in quite
yeah,
often,
Jim,
really.
Jim, he
Yeah,
wants,
he's
But
actually
just
doing the,
aesthetically,
he
having a
wanted the phone number on his sign. That's what he asked for. And I explained to him that it would be senseless to put holes in the AZAC with phone number, so I'd make a separate panel that could be changed out on it.
And it is allowed by code, putting the telephone number on. So anybody else want to weigh in on the colors besides the few of us who have? Everybody okay with it? Yes.
I'm okay with the colors. I'm a nurse. I've worked a lot with the elderly. I think these are very classic, clean line colors. They definitely can run towards austere. So I think in order to make it a cheery environment, you're going to have to be very careful with your landscaping.
landscaping and the interior, these are not the interior.
No, I
Sure,
understand, but you
yeah.
don't want families to drive
Yeah.
up and go,
Yeah,
you
morbid.
know,
Yeah.
is this the funeral home or the assisted
Yeah.
living, you know? I mean,
Good
seriously.
point, yeah. And by all means, if you've
And-
got some input and, you know, it's not my area of expertise, I'm not doing the operation.
I think they're
and,
they're very classic, neutral colors, but you just, you know,
Good.
some good landscaping
Okay.
can go a long way.
Anybody else? I think we're okay with the colors. I think Ms. Kane's comments are actually nice. It'd be nice to have some bright flowers around the area here and
Well,
there.
there are quite a few
It's
areas.
going to be perennials and annuals.
I know. That's, you weren't here for the site plans. We made sure that we added some flowers, some colors
Are you
along the
doing
way.
any kind of trees out front or
We added trees.
flowering trees?
I don't remember if we did flowering trees. We had, I think, hawthorns, which bloom white early in the
Oh,
spring.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
And there's honey locusts and
Right.
a number.
One of the issues, we couldn't put up, they have lines going through along where the trees were ideally going to be located, so we had to kind of move them around.
Power lines?
Not power lines, your gas line, I think, comes in through
Gas
there.
lines in there, we've gone ahead and taken the overhead lines down.
Right.
Another site plan change. It's now underground.
No,
but
that's
there's-
required under the code, that you have to bury all
But
electricals,
I'm
et
saying,
cetera.
these had overhead lines and stuff. We took those all out.
Oh, to the building?
Yes.
Yes.
We took them all out and ran them underground, and, you know, I snuck that in for anybody. Notice I was spending their money, so it was.
Yes, that's the question.
I've been involved with this with my parents. Is there any type of walking area for your customers?
There is on the side, it's off to the parking lot, and that's probably one of the areas that I will come back and ask for change once the grading and landscape is, because the back faces up in the woods and
Right.
trees and so forth. And I think to place that in the back rather than on the side would be more desirable for
Agree.
all involved, just to walk out of the place and see grass and green rather than cars pulling out. I mean, I go past a few in Poughkeepsie and I see the people sitting out front, rocking in front of the parking lot.
Yeah.
I know where you're going.
Yeah.
Are you going to have any
Street.
type of dementia or Alzheimer's type
No.
patients? Is that, okay?
Not-
Because they like to walk.
Yes.
So you build a what looks like a racetrack, but it's a sidewalk. where
And you
can
fence
just
it.
walk.
And you fence it.
Yeah. right.
My
Well,
father
there's
had
a lot that goes
Alzheimer's.
along with it, but a lot of times it's real handy to have a place where you can go walk.
Yeah, just for the record, we did discuss an area in the back, but because we weren't certain if they were going to do sewer,
Right.
kind of a sewer or a septic,
Right.
it was one of those things of, let's just worry about that later on. So, but that is the ideal
I've
spot, you're
taken a
right.
walk up into the woods in the back, and it's nicer than you'd think back in there behind the old Bowl and Hallie, and we shall see.
So I'll communicate to Ms. Moss that we're copacetic with the colors, color changes, and who has this resolution for the sign?
I do.
Thank you.
Resolution recommendation for issuance of sign permit pursuant to the Town Code, Section 108-24.3A, 4, and D. March 16, 2016, Resolution 16-17, whereas be it resolved that the board hereby recommends the zoning administrator issue the sign permit for Hyde Park ALF as submitted by Jeff Herslinger on March 7, 2016.
Is there
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in tonight. Always a
Thank you,
pleasure.
everyone.
And
See you in a couple months, I guess.
if anybody wants to do a tour, just let me know and I'll email Mr. Baxter. Okay?
Great, thank you.
Or we can just stop by if we're driving by?
Sure, please do.
Okay.
I mean, it's incredibly large on the inside. I can't believe myself. You go in there.
There's a bowling
going up,
alley.
Going down, well, it was much smaller feeling when you were in a bowling alley. You go in there and you look down some of these hallways, just a long walk. Yeah. It really is.
Bob, what did you do with the old lanes?
They're on the side of the building. I've tried to sell them on eBay a couple times, no such luck yet,
Oh.
but,
What are you gonna do with them? You
You
gonna
didn't
try?
incorporate them?
what's that?
They're not in the building?
Well, some of those are this thick and they weigh a tremendous amount of weight.
Oh, wow.
A 4x4 section of that, it would take 2 men and a boy just to lift, say nothing. I got some of those that are 32 feet long that I was able to get out of there, figuring that some of these companies that make these tables,
Yeah,
all
right,
of that
right.
stuff, it'd be a great thought. And I had 2 or 3 that were gonna come up, they've never shown up to look at it. But they're covered on the side.
Huh.
Anybody wants
A ski
part of the
jump.
history of the Hoe Bowl, it's there for you.
That's interesting.
Thank you very much.
Jan will be up there.
I'll be there
tomorrow.
bowling in the hallway.
Thanks, everyone.
The next item on the agenda is a recommendation to the town board for a road bond amount for the 2 new members. Part of our code under subdivisions is that applicants are required to post a bond for the completion of infrastructure. That can mean stormwater, curbing, it typically means roads. Under our code, they're allowed a one-time reduction, and this is based on a recommendation from the engineer. It can only occur once. It usually occurs actually when the asphalt plant's closed, or they've done a part of a road sometimes. It just depends on
Yeah,
when they're
this-
ready for it.
Yeah, this is not, our typical subdivision, so,
Want to give us a little background on this one, to where we are?
all right,
Yeah, that'd
I'll
be
try to keep it this short.
I hear this all the time, but I want to hear,
Short
but
version.
I don't think anybody else is in the know.
Well, I don't remember exactly when the subdivision was approved. I want to say it was 2008, maybe, 2009, something. And so the developer had gone in and put in other road. It's probably, if I have to guess, it's maybe 1,000 feet plus. It's a short cul-de-sac off of Enderkill Drive. I believe there was 9 houses total, or 11 houses, I can't, 11.
I thought it was 11, but whatever.
9 or
All right.
11, yeah.
I think there may have been 9 that were off of the new road, and I think there was 1 or 2 that may have frontage right directly onto Enderkill. But anyways, so the applicant went in and put in the road, and the real estate market has not been the greatest. So the road sat and it sat and it sat and it sat and it sat, and it held up pretty well. We've had some issues with it, but not too awful bad. So the original bond was 330-something thousand. And we reduced it to, I believe it's 178, and I think the 178 is a generous, number, so I think that we're more than, covered. The bond that's currently in place is set to expire in April. So the town board, after the planning board takes this step, once the developer's attorney gets the form of the bond, the new bond approved by the town attorney, then the town board can act to accept the new bond. Currently, there's only one house that's constructed. The house is not occupied yet, it's not sold. So the town has not issued a certificate of occupancy for that, house. But obviously, before that house, is sold, we want to make sure we have a bond in place, such that in the event, hopefully not, that the town ever had to call the bond to complete the road, that we have enough, money to do so. And it's not just a road, there's a stormwater detention pond, there's a bunch of landscaping, topsoil, and seeding, so hopefully the developer will be able to, sell more houses, and finish it out, because I think that everybody up in that area would like to see that finished off and cleaned up and become, a nice area again, so.
I know our highway superintendent would like to see there be an end of flooding and siltation going down.
Yeah, we did have an issue with that for a while, but the, developer went up and took care of a bunch of things, so we haven't been having those issues anymore. So I think we're in pretty good shape. It's just, we'd like to see that place finished up and, be done with, so.
Anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, I do. Let me understand this, because I really haven't visited this. This road is partially done, correct? Has never been accepted by the town?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, so now, because when I was on town board, we didn't do this for a really good reason, the really good reason being that when you give a CO to somebody and then the guy who owns the road doesn't plow it, then it becomes a liability to the town, which is why we stopped doing it. But now I guess they're doing it again. They're going to take a bond on the road before and give a CO before the road's accepted?
That's typical. That's the way it's done in most towns, that if you have a bond on the road, that you're able to issue us a certificate of occupancy because you're, protected. Now, you're not responsible for, for plowing it. The developer is still responsible for maintaining
Well, if he
it.
doesn't do it in the fire department, you get 3 or 4 houses in there, you would be surprised.
Well, and that is something that could happen. That's right.
Okay, that's
Yep.
all right.
No, you're right.
I know they changed the law because we
been like
enacted it for
Yeah.
that reason.
It's been like that a
It's been
while.
like that since I've been on the board.
Yeah.
Crofton Muse was the first one they wanted to reduce substantially back in 2005.
So Chan, you were saying that,
Well,
that there wasn't any kind of a bond?
No, what happened?
When you were on the
was,
board?
like, there was a road in Hyde Park.
Okay,
And a developer put the bond in,
yep,
okay? And we gave COs to 3 or 4
Yeah,
houses.
right.
And they were very fancy houses, doctors and everything
Yeah.
like that, people that had to get out. And he never would, he
Plow.
wouldn't plow them
Yeah.
or clean them, so, it got to the point where, he wouldn't complete the road. And he kept giving us a sob story
Right.
about how he couldn't complete the road. And he kept these people kind of hostage. They already owned the homes, right? He didn't finish the road. So, and in wintertime, they couldn't get in and out without, taking it upon themselves to do something. So eventually, we just finally got him, threatened to close on his bond to complete the road.
right.
And finally got it done, but as you know, it's a long process.
It's a pain. It's
a long
not, it is a
process.
long process, and it's not, I was involved one time in another town with having to call a bond, and it's a real pain to do that.
So if there's somebody, and there's a fire, and you can't get in the road, there's a liability.
I'm sorry, wait, I have to ask this. These people who are doctors, so presumably they were intelligent, bought houses and moved in before the road was complete? Or there was a section of road complete and not the whole road? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
there was part of the road that was complete,
Okay.
and then part that wasn't complete, and.
He didn't
you know,
plow
with
the front section where they were-
You know, he was
okay.
You know.
pretty slick. He promised, oh, we're gonna get this done.
Well, you know, the plowing issue I could see as being, you know, an issue. I mean, in terms of, you know, in other months of, you know, the year, you know, this particular road, and I'm sure that road, like at that point, normally the town, no towns issue a building permit for a new road until the road is done except for the top coat.
No, I
We just
understand.
kind of, we
And
just
we-
don't
you know-
put on the top coat, and then there's, you know, some cleanup work, there's, you know, some this, some that, but the general integrity of the road is good so that it's a safe, you know, travel way for anybody who is in there.
Well, it's not for us
Yeah.
to decide
I'm
that.
just-
Here, I just didn't realize that things had changed, that's all.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, it
it's-
was more of a
it's
question.
been
for
like that a
myself.
while.
But just so we're clear, this is not to allow the town, this is not to allow the town to take the road. This
Oh,
is
I
just
know
to
that.
put the new
I'm
bond into place.
perfectly aware of that.
So that we can issue more permits.
So that he would have to stop construction if the bond expired in April and
Right.
wasn't renewed.
Right.
So this is just gonna allow him to keep
Yeah, and
working on the
if
road.
that
and the-
happened, okay, and we had already allowed people in there, then we're into that
Right, and we have.
hocus pocus again, that's all.
I'm just curious, if a homeowner faced a situation where the project sponsor wasn't plowing, wouldn't they be able to sue?
Well, if it's a private road,
It would still be a private road because the town wouldn't have taken it over
It's still a
yet.
private road, it's still private
then
road,
he
there's
would have to
no
have
road
some kind of
agreement.
filing with the, under the Attorney General. For a shared, even shared driveways have to have like a CPS 7 or
Right.
an offering statement. And so there is some recourse privately, although if the developer is an entity that has disappeared.
I'm just
it's
saying,
hard to
it would be
go
the
after.
owner's, at the owner's own risk, in other words, the homeowner's own risk.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? And no more questions, and Mr. Sotero, I arrived the numbers. Thank you for getting this, Pete. So on to the simple, I think we have a resolution prepared for this, right?
We do.
Yeah, I do. Okay. We don't have to do anything but read the resolution, right?
Right.
36-06, resolution number 36-06I, or 1. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board of Town Hyde Park hereby sets the amount of the required financial security at $178,301.43, subject to the approval of the town board and the town attorney as to form, sufficiency, manner of execution, and surety.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll refer this over to the town board now?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp? Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Sotero, for explaining. Oh, got your cap on, huh?
Right.
The last item on the agenda is the hospice sign. So you saw a letter from Ms. Moss that was a little bit different than my initial resolution I sent you. I was using the applicant's initial figures that they put into the form, into their application, where it says change the starburst to 3838, the lettering height for H&P to 19.75, and the OSICE to 16. As it turns out, her numbers came from the actual sign fabricators. Dimensions located here, which as you can see, H is 19.86 instead of 7.5. The P is 19.75, and the I is 15.25. So I modified the resolution. I didn't change the I because it can go up to 16 inches. It can be a little bit shorter. So any discussion from everyone? What they're looking for really is to go from one sign that faces north to having a sign that faces north as well as west. The signs are actually a little bit smaller than what's up there now. They're still less than what the code allows of 100 square feet. They're also, that's the portion that we can act on, I should say. So that's the resolution I sent out. They're also asking for recommendations for the variance, the additional amount that we can't grant for the Starburst logo. Plus, and this is picayune but important to me, they want to go, our directional signs within shopping centers are 2 square feet. They want to go to 4.5 square feet. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw my opinion out there first, that if they say they need 2 big wall signs in order to be seen, and it's fairly far back from 9G, but there's nothing to really occlude you, why do you need an even bigger directional sign when you come in? You're supposed to be able to see the sign from the road, that's why they're doing bigger 2 signs.
Makes sense.
So I personally, and again, Victoria's here so she can advise us, but I thought my first 2 years that we set precedent if we granted certain things. But that's not really the case, because we look at individual sites and how they fit in to their surroundings. But the ZBA does set precedent because it's quasi-judicial. So if they start saying that you can have directional signs at 4.5 square feet, anybody could start asking for them, as long as they provided minimal justification.
Right, unless there's something so unique about this site that requires the 4.5 feet,
It's not a maze,
then.
it's a shopping center.
Then it would be hard not to grant it for similar shopping centers.
Anybody else have anything to add or comment on in this?
I just don't
that
think
was a-
the signs are
excellent point. Thank you.
necessarily, I mean, this is not the kind of place that, drive-by inspired shopping.
That's like the assisted living
So-
facility.
So, I think,
All over here.
I really just don't see why we need to get, into this precedent-setting stuff. I'm against.
I agree, it's a destination. You know you're going to go to hospice when you go there. It's not as though, Cham said it right, drive-by shopping.
Address and
Yeah.
put it in your GPS.
Yeah. So, at any rate, do you guys want to consider the resolution tonight?
Yes, but we have a slight change right now that
Mr. Oliver is
Mr.
recusing
Oliver
himself.
is recusing himself because the owner is Page Park Associates, with whom he does business with. So we would like to ask our alternate
Right.
to step in.
Isn't it great you were here tonight?
Well, the only guy in the audience right now.
Come
Mr.
on
Pickett, come on
down.
up. I'm officially appointing you on this application. Which means that you get to weigh in and opine now on
Yes.
your thoughts about the, so under our code, under the sign section of our code, we're allowed to give dimensional increases of 1 inch for every 20 feet back they're set back from the roadway. They're set back about 220 square feet, so we could give 11 inches to the 10, so up to 21. Oh, wait, yes, there's 21. So that's how the resolution is written, but they're also looking, the ZBA would also like a recommendation for us as to the additional size of the starburst, as well as to the directional sign. The reason we can grant these things is it depends on how far back they're set, and also size of the building and the design speed of the roadway it's on. Because the faster people go by, the larger the sign, the easier it is to see, in general. And you don't really want to have, say, the size of a street sign, like Parker Avenue, this big on a huge building. So that's why we kind of adjusted the code. And if you haven't had a chance to see this application, you may review mine. Well, you've got it right there. You can see what the signs look like. So, thank you, Mr. Oliver, for remembering to recuse yourself. I'm sorry I forgot. So, comments, Ms. DiNapoli? Let me start to my right.
I'm fine with the size of the signs on the buildings. I do concur with you that the signs of the directional, I don't understand why they would need to supersede the zoning, and that I would be concerned about setting a precedent for something like that.
And as a former member of the ZBA, I particularly take your words to heart. Thank you.
You're welcome. Please tell that to Ms. Donahue.
Mr. Pickett, and let me skip over you for a moment. Ms. Dexter. Yeah, Ms. Dexter.
I'm in agreement with my colleague, Ms. DiNapoli, about the directional sign. But I'm okay with giving the bonuses
Thank you.
as written. Oh, okay.
Mr. Murphy.
Ditto.
Thank you. Ms. Kane?
I agree with my colleagues.
Okay, so I will write a recommendation to go ahead and grant the increases to the starburst, but not to the directional. In the meantime, we have a resolution prepared tonight, so we can go ahead and send this to the ZBA, and they can therefore grant the minimum variance required.
Resolution granting discretionary bonus to increase maximum size of letter, symbol, or graphic. Did Mr. Pickett weigh in?
Oh, Mr. Pickett, sorry, yes. Oh, yes, we want you to wait. What would you like to state about this?
Okay, so we can circle back.
I think I'm in agreement, except you've talked about the direction or the arrow sign there.
Yeah.
And the requirement for being oversized. I don't see the need for it.
It's unanimous.
Had to use hospice, so
You're
you go
you're
looking
for the
for,
sign.
you know, there's no arrow needed.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ms.
All right,
Dexter.
thank you. Resolution granting discretionary bonus to increase maximum size of letter, symbol, or graphic pursuant to Town Code Section 108-24.2F, subsection 2, Hudson Valley Hospice wall signage. March 16th, 2016, resolution number TBD. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the board makes the following findings to permit a maximum symbol height of 24 inches in any direction and maximum letter heights as cited below for the proposed Hudson Valley Hospice wall signs. 1, the additional size of the symbols and letters is appropriate given the sign's distance from the road, which is more than 220 feet. 2, the increase in size is appropriate due to the size of the building upon which the wall signs are being placed. Be it further resolved that the board hereby grants the applicant the requested sign bonus to permit a maximum letter height of 19.86 inches for the H and 19.75 inches for the P, and a maximum letter height of 16 inches for the O, S, I, C, and E, and a maximum size of 21 inches by 21 inches for both starburst graphics on a wall sign located more than 220 feet from the primary entry from Route 9G, and be it further resolved that the planning board recommends issuance of a sign permit for the wall signs by the zoning administrator if the variance for the remaining increase in size for the starburst logo is granted. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any other business? Making a motion to adjourn?
Moved, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Media Committee, particularly for your work tonight in adding some whiz-bangs to the rebroadcast. And thanks to my colleagues, it's always a pleasure. Oops, I didn't put a signature.